Hello, welcome to another episode of G.I. Joe New News Review. I am David Allen. I am joined by my special guest at AR Assembly Required, Ron Rudat, the legend of the G.I. Joe brand team from the 80s. Obviously, Ron, you've been working way before the 80s on G.I. Joe. You've done a lot of other stuff. Uh, I appreciate you taking the time to speak with me today. I hope you're enjoying the show so far.
So far, what I've seen, yeah, I'm having a good time. Yeah.
It's cool. So, as I was saying, you've obviously been a toy designer and artist well before you got the G.I. Joe brand. Can you give me a little bit of a background into how you got into this field? Was it something you wanted to do as a child? A little bit of your education?
Well, probably since grammar school, I know I used to do a lot of drawing, and when I was in elementary school, I used to enjoy drawing maps and things like that. And as growing up and going through junior high and then high school, I was in graphic arts in high school. Uh, and and from high school, I went to art school in Boston.
Oh, I'm from
Uh,
Boston.
yeah, and Westford George School of Art. And I was recruited right out of art school to join Hasbro.
Wow.
I ended up working for the art department at Hasbro, uh, basically doing instructional design work, for different products, the 12-inch Joes and things like that.
What year was that?
Uh, man, probably 1971, maybe. I was doing instructions for different GI Joe products. I worked on
Like the blueprints that would come with a figure or a
yeah,
toy or something?
yeah, pretty
Oh,
much,
cool.
and also worked on Weebles.
Oh, Weebles Wobbles, they don't fall
Yeah,
down, but
yeah,
they're good to throw at your sister because they're like a rock.
yeah. So I worked on Weebles quite a bit. Uh, I'm not sure what other products I've worked on. I have a Weebles that has my son's initials on it.
Oh, cool.
I always try to throw something in there. Um, I worked on 12-inch figures, retouching some of the illustrations that go on the packages. There's a
Paintings and things.
Yeah, well, an illustrator on the outside would do let's say a 12-inch package of a desert theme or whatever, and marketing didn't like a certain part of it, so I would go in there and touch it all up and make sure it wasn't there anymore. I mean, today you use Photoshop, but back then we did everything by hand. I used using gouache on that. I think around 1977 or so, I was asked to if I'd be interested in uh, joining the R&D team, and my first thought was, do I get more money if I join them? And
Of course.
of
Smart.
course, so I joined the R&D team, and I worked on a lot of arts and crafts stuff, where I did the illustrations on some of the product for that. I can't remember a lot of the stuff I worked on there, besides the arts and crafts. But I was asked to if I'd be interested in working on the GI Joe line. But at first, when we were in R&D, we wanted to bring back GI Joe, and or I wanted to bring back GI Joe. So we had a presentation to management, and I had a rough truck repainted olive drab, and I put GI Joe stickers on it. That was the first thing I presented to management. It didn't go over too well,
No.
but the head of Boys Toys at the time was also thinking about bringing Joe back as well.
Kurt Busigan?
No, it was Don. Who was it? Bob Prupus.
Oh, Bob Prupus. Yes, I met him.
Yeah, Bob Prupus decided that he had the thought of bringing Joe back as well, only in a smaller size. And seeing that Star Wars was doing so well with their 3 3/4 figures, we decided to do our figures in 3 3/4. Uh, Basically, it all started right there, with my introduction and Bob Rufus, and we went from there. The first year, GI Joe's, Marvel wasn't. I don't think Marvel was involved at that time. I think it was after the line we completed the line, and then it was given to Marvel.
Because I think Bob like challenged Kurt to have a hook, find a hook to it, and he said, we need something to get fans in there. And he thought, well, Marvel Comics, let's see what they can do. And he went to Marvel Comics, and they said, yeah, we'd love
Yeah,
to.
yeah. Well, they did the start. That was one way of advertising GI Joe, and to sell, we could sell our products.
To kids.
So I went. I think I went to Marvel's, and we talked it over with them at their offices in New York City, and that's when I first met Larry Hama. He was a young guy. We were both young guys, and I don't think they knew who to give the project to at first.
Well, they tried to give it to according to Larry, everybody in the office. He was the last cubicle at the end of the
Yeah,
corridor, and they said, "Hey, you want it?" And he was ready to take anything. He would have took Barbie. He said.
yeah, yeah. So Larry ended up with it, and well, he ended up doing the comic book, but he also did all the bios for all the figures as well. Um, I would draw up the designs of all the figures, and then each figure would be sent to Larry. A lot of people think Larry designed the figures. Now it came from me first, and then it went to Larry, and then Larry produced the comic.
I think there's a little bit of confusion because he had a concept of I think it was a young Nick Fury Jr. or something concept with a bunch of characters and things like that, and people get that concept even though that wasn't Hasbro, that was Marvel Comics doing
Right,
that.
right.
So people get that confused
Yeah,
sometimes. He used some of the names and he redid some of the bios from those people and put them into the bios of the GI Joes. What you guys had already designed, but that's the confusion people have with that.
right.
But I want to backtrack a little bit to you were going to school, you're illustrating, and you went to college and stuff. Was toy design something that you aspired to? Was that
No,
on your radar, or
no.
wasn't? What was your aspiration?
My aspiration was to go uh, to illustrating school out in LA after I graduated from there. But due to family and everything, I didn't do that. So
You needed a job and you took a
I,
job.
I wanted to be an illustrator, full time illustrator. But that never happened. So anything I've learned about art or anything like that, I've done on my own.
Self-taught, pretty much. Well, sometimes we learn the best by self-teaching and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The old adage,
Yeah,
the streets teach you. So.
yeah, I taught myself how to do watercolors. I taught myself how to do acrylics. I'm teaching myself how to do oils. I'm self-taught. I've never had any instruction on any of that stuff.
You're motivating yourself by your own self-interest,
Pretty much.
and saying, "Hey, that sounds cool. Let me see how that looks or do
Yeah,
and things like that.
yeah.
That's really cool because that's the thing when you're growing up and your parents want you to be this or want you to be that, and you're like, I want to be an accountant. I don't really want to, work at the garage or whatever. I
Yeah.
want to do this. And but how do you do it without money and stuff like that? It's
Oh, my parents never had any aspirations to do anything special, and that kind of fell on me when I was, very young, that I like to draw. So, and every chance I got, I would draw. I'd be up in my room when I was a kid, uh, drawing into the night, you know.
right. I think we all kids have imagination, and they do that sort of thing. Whether they are able to capitalize it like you did is another story.
Yeah. And I didn't have any toys when I was a kid.
You didn't,
No, very few.
Mr. Potato Head.
No,
Not even that.
no. I had very little toys. Parents couldn't really afford them or weren't into them, or so I never received toys.
How did you get all your art supplies to draw?
Pencil and paper.
Just from school? It just happened.
Yeah,
I see.
yeah, pretty much. Every year parents go out and buy pads and pencils for the kids for
Yeah.
the school, and that's all I had.
Wow. And you got a lot out of that pencil and paper,
Yeah,
obviously.
yeah. It's only when I got older that I could afford to buy other things.
Realize it was other types of techniques you
Yeah,
could do and things,
yeah,
art stores and stuff. You
yeah.
buy. Have you ever thought of like going back to school when you were at Hasbro, the New York Art Institute, or any of those type of places while you were there?
No, no. I was supporting a family, so I really didn't have the opportunity to go to school again. I've taken workshops here and there, but that's about it.
Um, so you're starting with the revamp of GI Joe. You're going to these meetings with Kurt and Bob and the team, trying to figure out a hook for this, and you use the Star Wars way of thinking, the 3 3/4, because that's where everything was going. Battlestar Galactica, Chips, Dukes of Hazzard, all were doing 3 3/4, but they were doing O-rings. Star Wars was 5 POA. What was the thought process of the O-ring rather than the 5 POA?
I have no idea. That's what the engineers came up with, and with the O-ring. I had nothing to do with it. They came up with a buck for the figure, and the buck is a built a certain way that all the figures you see in the early Joes are all look alike as far as body and legs or arms. That was all engineering, and then the sculptor would sculpt over that buck, you know. Um, but they came up with the idea of the over,
And they
not
just
necessarily my idea.
and they were able to incorporate like your style based on that and sculpted it onto the figures.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, you can only sculpt so far on a buck, since the bucks were green or gray, I can't remember, but a sculptor would, start sculpting, and as soon as he hit that color, he stopped. You know, so unfortunately, that's the way those figures turned out. I would have rather seen them uh, similar to what's going on now, the 6-inch figures, where they,
kind of detail.
you know, well, highly detailed, and also bodies are somewhat accurate rather than what we did.
For the generic buck that they all have the same skull, even though that's not how humans are. Some are taller, some are shorter,
Right.
some are a little plumper, whatever. Females, Scarlet, that was one of the odd things. I thought, why is Scarlet short hair? Do women in the military have hair like that? I thought maybe they had ponytails, and they didn't give her a ponytail. I thought that was strange.
Yeah, GI Joe is a totally different aspect of military because it's military, but it's not. It's they're like almost like contractors, you know.
Right, special
And
forces, like a little bit ahead of the
yeah,
actual
yeah.
military.
I mean, they abide by military rules and everything like that, but they dress and look different than that everyone else. Uh, yeah, I mean, I did Scarlet. Can't remember if she short hair or long hair, but I wanted a redhead in there anyway, so because I like redheads.
Yeah, me
So
too. I'm married to a redhead.
yeah, uh, I thought that was kind of cool. You see it a lot in Hollywood too, in a lot of the old movies. A lot of the lead actresses are redheads.
Yeah, but they're black and white movies, so you can't tell that they're
You can't
redheads.
tell. No.
Yeah, that's true. You're right about that. So so the plan for this was supposed to originally be what 81 because of what was going on in the world with Jimmy Carter and the Iran Contra affair. They bumped it because they didn't want it to like spoil the launch, from what I understand from Kirk uh, and you had an extra year to plan and develop and come up with concepts and things like that. How did you guys capitalize on that?
I have no idea. I have no idea.
You don't remember?
I don't remember any of that. No. And Kurt Bazigion's a marketing person. They have more uh, in-depth knowledge of what's going on than the designers. You know, they're basically telling the designers, "This is what I want." You know, uh, but they have more information on cost and the marketing in general. You know, to the public than we do. So I have no idea what's in their minds.
Okay.
You know, I mean, you could see it today. You know, with the people at Hasbro now. You see a marketing person working their butt off to tell you about the product and everything else. And designers have no idea what they're talking about. But
It's funny because I watch a lot of the videos that the team's doing today. It feels like it's the home shopping network to me. You're watching these people put the product on there. Here
yeah,
we have this
they have
product. We have the
they
thing
have
that
a
does this.
script.
It does it. That's what it feels like to me. And I don't know if it's intentional. At least the Joe team brings a little more life to it than the other teams, from my perspective, from what I see. But it does feel like the home shopping network to a
Yeah,
certain extent.
yeah, they're working on a script.
Have to hit the points, all the different points in the script and
Yeah,
things like that. And then and that's the interesting thing. You guys didn't have that back in the day. It was all private. It was all secret behind closed doors. No one knew what the hell was going on except for you guys. You guys were in the trenches doing this stuff. And now,
well, we didn't know how popular Joe was going to be either.
right,
It was a day-to-day job.
right.
You never thought about it. Oh, this thing is like gonna goes
Blow up.
through the roof.
Yeah.
And had no idea. We just did our work.
That's really what it was, and I've heard that from a few people where they said, yeah, we just were working. We didn't know what was going on in the world and stuff like that. The popularity. If it didn't do well, they would have cut the line,
You're
and
right.
that would have been it. But it lasted. The original line went to 94. You were like 86 or 87
Um,
as a designer on the brand.
up until about halfway in '87, and then Mark Pennington took over for a couple of years.
Uh, and yeah, you can tell the difference between, and that's the unique thing about JoJo. You can tell the years from who worked on what years because of the style, the way the figures were sculpted. Obviously,
Yeah,
the technology got better as it went along, too. But you guys got more imagination. You got more money.
The thing too is when you have Mark uh, Pennington, yeah, and Kurt Rowan, and you got well, but
Art Sears, Dave Dorman.
Bart Sears worked on it. Dave Dorman did the illustration. Um, but Mark Pennington is a comic book person. He went to a comic book school. Okay, so
Hubert School.
yeah, the Kubert School, and those guys, they do that all the time. They create new figures and whatever. And
Make
my
it
my back
dynamic.
my background was I just liked the military, and you know I just came up with the figures. It came up out of my head, most of them, and I mean I had reference, but I used very little of it. Some of it from Star Wars and from Frank Frazetta, other sources. Uh, but that's where a lot of my ideas came from. But in a majority of them came straight out of here, you know.
Have a good
Um,
imagination.
um, well, and some people attest to what I do. Um, I would do 10 sketches of one thing.
Right.
Okay. You pick the one that you want on this card, you
Gotcha.
know, where some people, like the ones today, only do one drawing. They don't do a series of drawings. They do one and accept it.
Right.
So,
It's kind of like your his tactician that they done with the new his HasLab, where they're choosing which version of those designs that you did back in the 80s. The fans are voting on it, stuff like that. But you did
yeah,
that for every character. So
yeah.
in Dan Klingensmith's books, he shows all this stuff, and it's like that's a lot more work than the average person would do.
It pretty much is, these the younger guys today they do everything digitally. They don't even draw. So
The
that's
art
what.
form that's lost.
Yeah, I don't know what they do on the outside. I don't know if they do any drawing or anything like that. They're all doing it digitally because it's easy. You know?
Computer stuff like that is hard too. Learning that, try to get that.
Yeah, you got to get used to the program and the program you're working on and everything like that, and where to place things and turn things. You know, they more or less become, I guess, masters of the computer.
Yeah, yep. They have those big art tables and stuff. I've seen Todd McFarlane do classes, Joe Quesada do classes. They have a big table and they do it. Like,
Yeah,
they had to learn all that because those are all regular illustrators like yourself that had to change with the times and adapt.
yeah, but I never changed.
You know, you still use pen and paper, pencil and paper.
That's still how I work. That's what I'm doing on Operation Recall.
You are? Gosh, that's a
Yeah,
lot of effort to put into something like that, doing it the old fashioned way.
that's the way I'm doing it now.
It's going to be interesting to see how it all works out. But it's done the same way you guys did it back then, from what I understand. Garth got people to review everything. You fix the changes, you go back, and you
Mm-hmm.
keep doing it, and stuff like that. You get Larry Hama to do the bios, and Kirk Uzigians circling the errors and telling you guys to go
Yeah,
back. It's like, just like you guys did back in the day.
pretty much.
And
Well, that's how Carson wants to do it now, and he wants to do it the old way, in the way it was originally done,
to document that way, that
and he wants to
format.
document every bit of it. I don't know how you can document what they're doing today.
Uh, there's steps like if you watch a movie and they show the special features and they do like a CGI, you can see the steps they show you on the computer. Yeah, we did this, we moved this, we changed that, blah, blah. Click, 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 click. And they do it in that type of way, but it doesn't have any kind of a life, you know.
No.
When you're with a person and you can see them drawing right in front of you, you can see how they bring the character to life. They add details to bring the character to life and stuff like that. It's different.
Yeah.
But you know, each their own, I suppose, different style for a different generation and stuff like that. And we're going to continue to change. I'm sure before you know it, we'll be having 3D holograms, and we'll just, we want to take this on, put this on, and put this
Yeah.
hat in.
I think they do that right now anyway.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
Um, so like you said, you guys were working and you didn't know what was going on. When did you guys get an idea as to the scope of the brand and what GI Joe was becoming in the 80s?
Say it again.
Sorry. When did you realize that the brand was becoming what it was becoming, the scope of it in the 80s? Um,
Oh, we didn't know what was becoming of it.
you didn't?
No.
Never?
How it ended up or words become?
Yeah.
No. Like I said, we just did our work, our jobs, and marketing probably knew more about that than we did.
And it
And
didn't disseminate it down to you guys?
nah, not that much. You know, I don't know what to tell you on that.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm curious why, if you're doing a good job, your bosses and your people wouldn't say, "Yeah, you're doing a great job. People love this. Keep bringing what you're bringing," or something like that. Positive
Yeah,
reinforcement.
yeah, no,
No. Wow.
not, no, I don't think it had that much reinforcement.
Huh. How
You
did you
know,
know the energy that you brought? What made you continue doing that if you didn't have that
because
kind of reinforcement?
like I said, I enjoyed the military aspect of it,
Oh,
and I love the military. I love uniforms and things like that, and you know, and I was just drawing one after another. I considered myself a workhorse. I stayed in my office. I I continually drew every single day, every single hour, just about.
wow.
I was not a socialite like some of the guys at Hasbro were, who went and visited other people within the building, other designers, and socialized. That wasn't me. I stayed in my office. I did my work. I loved what I did. And I didn't get a lot of credit for any of it I did.
Or you created the
Not,
Cobra symbol.
yeah,
Without that, we wouldn't even really be where we are with GI Joe. I think. 'Cause thankfully, Larry was like, "You guys, they're gonna march around all day. They don't have an adversary to fight." And you came up with a symbol for it. And I think Steve Gerber, came up with the name Cobra. But
right.
it takes some imagination. It takes thought. It takes people thinking outside the box. Stuff that just doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen overnight, no.
Yeah.
Well, again, I did probably about 15 different sketches, 20 different sketches of Cobra, and ended up with that particular Cobra, you know. And it's been around for over 40 years.
It's a cultural icon. It's like the
It's
Superman symbol
yeah,
or the Batman symbol.
yeah.
That's Snake
A lot
Eye.
of people, don't know it though. Joe guys do, but not too many people on the outside know what it is.
It's a weird thing because being a huge GI Joe fan, sometimes when I go to my daytime job, I wear GI Joe shirts and stuff underneath my vest or whatever when I was working. And sometimes management like you can't wear that shirt because maybe people might think you belong to like a cult or something. I had management pull me in the office to say that to me because I was wearing a Cobra.
I have
I
a
said, "What?
I
Are you
have a
nuts?"
fear of I have a fear of some of these insurrectionists taking up
Adapting it.
taking up the Cobra logo and using it.
They did it with ISIS. That was
You know,
ridiculous.
I had that fear, and then I would be known for that only. So,
I hope not.
Uh,
I think that's why Marvel did away with the Punisher symbol. The Punisher in the comics doesn't wear his normal skull and crossbones
yeah,
that he did. They changed it into more of a demonic type of a thing. And I was like, because they were a lot of these types insurrection people were wearing the Punisher symbol, and so your concern is
but
founded. It's a possibility. It's not nothing getting around it. That would be terrible to ruin something like that.
yeah.
Uh,
Well, it's everywhere. I've seen it everywhere. The Cobra logo on people with tattoos,
oh
and
yeah, graffiti.
yeah, I see it on vehicles. It's everywhere. Even some of the military guys have it on their vehicles.
Huh.
On their airplane.
Wow.
I've seen the Cobra logo.
So it's impacted
So
everybody,
yeah, quite a
at
bit.
least several generations of people.
Yeah, and I get a lot of letters, and I talk to a lot of veterans who thank me for all that stuff. For the GI Joes, that's what got them into the military. You know, um, some of the guys that came out and they started collecting, you know, Joes and stuff like that. Yeah, that's an honor with those guys.
It's amazing that the Hasbro people never let you know about these letters and people writing to you. Now you get letters,
Yeah,
obviously, from people today, but there must have been children back in the day writing to them. Thank you for this. It's
no,
helped me with this. It's helped me with that.
not
Kept me out
not
of
not
trouble.
not to me.
Huh.
Maybe
Wow.
maybe Kurt Bazigian got them.
And he never shared them with you.
No, never shared.
Huh. That's wow.
You know,
I can't believe that.
marketing took all the credit for everything that we guys did.
Huh. That's kind of a disservice because you wouldn't
And
have what they have without
but
your
on the
imagination.
other hand, I wouldn't have been at any conventions or anything like that if it weren't for Kurt Bazigian, because he suggested to the Dallas convention to have me there.
Joe Con,
It was JoeCon, yeah,
that was your
and
first
that
one.
was my very first one. And from there, I got to go to a few more.
Well, you're considered a community icon. Everybody loves you. We all appreciate the work. We recognize the work. If Hasbro didn't definitely recognize you for the work that you were doing at the
Yeah,
time,
yeah.
that's a disservice to you guys, and they should be admonished for that, for not respecting you and treating you
Well,
better.
there's three of us that are more or less icons. Larry Hama, Kurt Bazigian, me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I watch Corbusian's speech. He's got this one speech that he does, and he does it all the time. He does that snap thing that he does
yeah.
to get the executives. We need a snap or whatever it is he does, and I find it funny.
When we were presenting GI Joe in the beginning, Steve DeGuano, we had it. He had to do a presentation, and he was making believe like he was a drill sergeant.
Right.
He had a swagger stick, and he came out in front of Steven Hassenfeld and went boom like that on the table. Listen up, you know.
He got his attention.
Yeah, he got their attention.
And it worked. It worked as much
Yeah,
as it's funny now watching it and seeing it. He's done it a few times in different conventions.
yeah. The Kirk does it too,
Yeah, it's
but
interesting.
he's used to talking in front of people and getting them all excited.
You have to, I guess, because they don't have the imagination you do or us fans do and stuff like that. So these executives, people, you have to drag them to the concept, drag
Yeah,
them to the
yeah,
idea of what this could be that the kids might find interesting about it. It's grinding almost.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, but so you left the brand around mid 80 what 7 86
About the middle of '87,
87.
I asked to be taken off the line.
Was there a specific reason?
I think some of my ideas were starting not to come out, and that I thought that I had more imagination to work on other products.
You also did some vehicle stuff where you got to go to military bases and get ideas.
Yep,
Uh,
only one or two. That's it.
two times.
Yeah, we went to Otis Air Force Base, which is on Cape Cod, and got to tour the base. Some F-15s were there. I got to see those up close. And some helicopters and things like that. And then we went over to Camp Andrews, which is also in where Otis is. And take a look at the armor that they have over there. Saw a bridge layer there, and tanks and some personnel carriers. Got to ride in a personnel carrier, which was interesting. Uh, yeah, my most well-known picture, I guess, is me
In the tank.
sitting in the tank looking out.
Yeah, I've
Uh,
seen that a few times.
yeah,
But that's cool. My father-in-law was a tank mechanic in Korea, and he's got pictures of himself with his tank and stuff like that. And I asked him, I said, "Did you get to go in the tank?" "Yeah, we got to go in the tank." I said, "How does it feel to drive a tank or be in a tank?" He says, "It's not comfortable." He says, "It's hot. It's
yeah,
clumsy because it's going over dirt and stuff, and it's not smooth riding because you have the treads and everything." But
right,
he said it wasn't a very comfortable thing. They had to do it obviously because it was part of the service, but it wasn't an enjoyable experience. He said.
yeah,
And the mechanics, his hands, because he was a mechanic, his hands like got swollen up, so his hands were 3 times bigger than mine, and it's because of all the bolts he had to get moving and stuff, and you hit your hand all the time. He would explain.
yeah,
So yeah, that stuff's interesting. I've seen tanks. There's a couple on display in the town that I live in Florida, and so I've always thought, oh, man, that'd be kind of a cool
yeah.
thing.
That's supposedly an armored museum just north of where I live in Hudson, Mass. And
You live in Massachusetts
yeah,
still?
yeah, and you can take a ride in a tank.
You can.
Yeah,
Oh, that's neat.
yeah,
I'll have to go back
uh-huh,
home and see if I can find that place.
yeah. I haven't been there yet. It's like a World War II museum,
Oh, neat.
but you can drive around, I guess, in the fields in a tank.
Huh, that's cool.
Be a Sherman or something like
I
that.
would love to do something like that. Thank you for letting me know that. That's really cool. So what did you go on to? What products did you get to work on after GI Joe?
My mind skips. I worked on various things. I worked a little bit on Star Wars. I designed the big. Oh
At Walker?
no, it's an animal. In the
Oh, that big lizard,
no,
the stormtrooper.
uh, the thing that he opens up and it goes crawls inside to sleep in the
Oh,
winter time.
yeah. The Rancor,
No, it's not
the Tauntaun.
Tauntaun.
Oh, okay. From Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I designed that for them.
Well, that would
The
have had
big
to have
one.
been in. Oh, the big one from the '90s.
Yeah,
Ah, I see.
I did that. Uh, I worked on My Little Baby. I worked in the girls department. Uh, they made me more or less like an inside freelancer. I could work in every department within Hasbro,
Oh, cool.
and so I did.
Is that exciting to learn all the different departments?
In a
Expand your
way,
knowledge.
girls department because it was run by a woman. All her designers were women,
Oh, yeah,
and I was the only guy. It was she had favoritism,
of course.
and
They give you hell.
I think that's one reason I was gone. I, I was laid off because of her and that group. But I worked in every department, you know, doing various different projects.
And then I believe Hasbro acquired Kenner, and there's a whole shuffle in the early '90s for
Yeah,
that.
yeah, they were getting some of the kind of people to come down to Hasbro to work. Thus, Hasbro is getting rid of the people that made the company.
Yeah, how was that? That must have been a
Yeah.
bitter pill
They
to
got rid of
swallow.
yeah, they got rid of a lot of people like myself that have been there for a long time.
What did you go on to after that? Did you take it easy?
Nothing. Uh, I try to freelance because I've never done I had no never done it before,
You had
and
worked in Hasbro since your art
I couldn't
school, right
get
out
any,
of art
I
school.
could not get any toy work at all. I probably did a couple of small things for Spin Master Toys. I did some things for them.
Out of Canada.
Yeah. Uh, oh, I forgot. Tyco maybe. I can't remember. There were only a couple of different toy companies. Then I ended up doing a lot of freelance for Ardley Elliott. They're a gift work company. I did a lot of designs for them, and another company that was attached to Ardley Elliott. And then they stopped doing outside work and only used inside art designers. So that kind of dried up. So I went and leaned towards my fine arts in doing landscape paintings, trying to trying to get into galleries and sell art there. Um, I wasn't selling that much art.
You got to keep trying.
No. So when the idea of commissions from GI Joe collectors came about, that kind of kept things alive a little bit for me.
Reinvigorated things.
Yeah. But the other thing too was my wife. My wife worked for John Hancock Life Insurance Company out of Boston. She was there for 35 years, and she kept everything afloat. So I could basically do what I wanted to do, but she had all the benefits and
Where did you meet your wife?
everything. um, I met my wife when I was in high school.
Ah, high school sweetheart.
She was in college.
She was in college, but you were in high school,
Yeah,
so you were stepping out
yeah,
up the ladder a little bit.
a little bit.
Must have had some swagger.
Did all right. Yeah, we got married probably after a year of dating.
Well, that's what people did back in those days. Nowadays,
Uh,
people
yeah,
play games, and
yeah,
it's
we've
like
been married 53 years.
53 years, and I met your wife. She's a very lovely woman.
You know, a lot smarter than me. So, yeah, if it weren't for her, none of this, I wouldn't be where I am now.
She kept you on the right path and kept your head up
Well,
and supported you.
she supported me. She baked it out. She had all the benefits and everything to keep us, you know, going. So,
A good partner.
yeah, she's a very good partner.
It's a blessing when you can find somebody like that. I'm very
Yeah,
happy for you that you did.
yeah. Well, it's good getting to know her very early on. That
You knew she was
that
the right match.
yeah, right away.
And you had your son, and you have another child, a brother, another brother, or another son.
No, I have two sons.
Two sons. That's what I meant.
Yeah,
Two sons. And they both doing pretty good for themselves, from what I understand.
yeah. My youngest one, Jamie, he's down in North Carolina. Um, he works for a mattress firm, and he is like the director of three or four different stores, like a manager of all three stores, and he's doing quite well because his stores sell very well. I mean, he does good. He's one of the top sellers in North Carolina, and then the other one is Tristan. He's the oldest, and he does audio, video, TV production work.
That's a booming career there.
And yeah, he does gigs here and there. Uh, does music videos. He edits. He builds LED screens. He does it all. You know, he does lighting and he does sound. And
He should start his own production company.
he should, but I think he's really frightened to do that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
anything that you
it's
have
a
to
big
step on that cliff
it's
to
a big
do.
step
Yeah, uh,
because
yeah,
you got to have all the equipment to
yeah,
do it, and that can involve quite a bit of money.
yeah. I
And,
understand.
but he does all right. He was out here. He was out here in Iowa 2 weeks ago
Oh,
doing a gig for a college. You know, I forgot what he's doing. I don't know if he was doing the video or the sound.
something for a football game or a concert or something.
No, he said it was a hometown something or other dance.
Hmm.
I don't know.
So what are you most proud of in your career uh, that you can look back on and say, I did that and it's means something to a certain amount of people, whatever. What thing would you point to?
G.I. Joe.
G.I. Joe.
Everybody knows G.I. Well, most people do.
It
That's
is
what I'm known for.
it is a worldwide phenomenon. It wasn't just in the United States. It's in every practically every country.
I'm known for WWF too.
You are? What did you do for the WWF?
I designed WWF wrestling figures.
You did for
Yeah,
who? For Hasbro or
yeah.
some? Oh, the big rubber ones?
No, small ones. You don't know about that big.
Oh, okay. And when was that?
I can't even think of it. It was right around the time I was doing Joe.
In the 80s? I didn't know they had little ones. I thought they
Or,
had those big
or,
rubber ones.
or it could have been maybe after 87 into the early 90s.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Fun.
I did a bunch of figures for WWF.
Yeah, I think that was the rubber. I don't know what you call them, but they were those big rubber, really strong rubbery
Yeah, no,
ones that punch each other.
no,
Oh, they weren't those.
no.
Hmm.
These all had different,
Articulation.
yeah, yeah, like for wrestling moves and things like
Yeah,
that.
I don't remember
I'm
that.
still doing them.
Well, now I know they're doing them the last 20 years. I know they've been doing them
I'm
through
doing some
uh,
for.
um,
I'm doing some for.
Jack specific.
No, I'm doing for. It's called Heels and Faces.
Heels, faces.
Yeah,
Hmm. Is it Mattel?
no, it's a guy on the outside, uh, but they're fashioned after the figures that I worked on for Hasbro.
Okay,
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, something like that.
Yes, that's what the rubber ones from the 80s look
No,
like.
no, not everyone.
So you know what I'm talking about, right? Those big, bulky rubber ones from the 80s. You know, the Hulk Hogan, Sergeant Slaughters, and all them. They did them. I don't know what they were called, but I didn't know Hasbro was doing those. But
Oh yeah, Hasbro did a whole series of them.
interesting, because I know Mattel's working on them now. What can you point to that you would have liked to have done differently in your career? Uh, that you look back on it. I know we can't change things, but is there something that you would if you had the option to do?
Oh, I don't know. I kind of wish I was in the military.
See,
I
that's the rubber ones.
You sure?
Yeah, these are all rubber. There's no articulation in them.
Not these.
No, you're right. Those have a minimum of almost 5 point of articulation. The head, the arms, the
Right.
legs. They're a little bit
Yeah.
bulkier. Yeah.
Actually, those rubber ones were done probably from it. That's not a rubber
No,
one.
that's not a rubber one. Yeah. Yeah, I remember those. So yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. That was the ones that I had, was the rubber ones.
Those were done by a different company, not
Right. That's
Hasbro.
why I was thinking. I didn't think Hasbro did those.
You
But
know?
yeah, I do remember these because they advertise them all the time during
Yeah.
wrestling.
Yeah. Well, I
Uh,
designed some of these too.
oh, cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And I am presently working with a guy who's doing figures that are based on those figures.
Cool.
So he's out of New York.
They're bringing them back, kind of like for some odd reason they're bringing everything back from the 80s. Like they brought the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles back, the original ones. The
Yeah.
Ghostbusters from the 80s back. They
Yeah.
brought the Superpowers
But
back. They're
the
bringing everything
the
back.
guy that I'm doing it for is not necessarily doing wrestlers that Hasbro did. Well, maybe a couple, but he's doing guys who have not ever been recognized.
Never had a toy.
Never, never had a toy made
That's
after them,
cool. Yeah.
or wrestlers today,
Yeah.
yeah, that don't have anything.
So what was that item that maybe you would have liked to have gone back and changed if you had the opportunity? Because I know everybody has regrets and things that they would do different, turn left or turn right, whichever way.
No, I don't know. I mean, I would have liked to have done GI Joes differently than really they were done.
Not over.
Not necessarily O-ring, but that anatomically better. No, but we couldn't do it. You know,
Was it the technology or
yeah, the buck.
no, the butt? So that
Everything stops at the buck.
because
So,
it did change after the O-ring line ended in '94. They went on to Sergeant Savage and then GI Joe Extreme, and it was more of a five POA, but it was a more articulated five POA with those. Uh, you weren't on the brand at the time, but yeah, that's what they were doing at the time.
that was later on.
95, 96.
Yeah,
So I'm curious if they took your idea because
yeah,
I've noticed that where a person will suggest something and
yeah,
then at the time the management that be says no and they'll squash it and then a few years later then the management yeah we came up with this idea yeah, let's do it and it would be just like the guy did asked a couple years prior.
yeah,
The
yeah,
GI Joe classified 6 inch that happened during Daryl DePriest and Mark Weber's era. They wanted to do that and they came up with some ideas and things but they squashed it, and then they all get the blue slip, and then a couple years later, now the new team does it. So that's happened a bunch of times.
yeah. And
And I'm just saying that that
oh,
could have happened to you.
yeah, I don't know. I just would have liked to have worked on or kept working for Hasbro. I was hoping to retire from there, but that never happened.
Well, we started in '71, and you left in what '90s?
99.
'99.
Yeah.
That's more than 20 years.
Yeah, no, 28.
28 years.
Yeah.
So that's retirement. 20 years is retirement in the military.
Maybe the military, but not for me. I didn't get my full.
Pension and all that.
I didn't get a full pension. I didn't know about the pension and blew it and had to pay the taxes on it.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so really didn't have much when I left.
Sorry about that.
So
I've been there. You work hard and you put in your sweat, tears, and blood and everything. You feel like you're doing something, and then tomorrow you're gone. I've
yeah,
been down that
pretty
road
much.
myself. I had to leave a company this past summer that I was there for 16 years, and I thought I'd be there till I retired as well. Same
Yeah.
exact thing.
Well, my nephew worked for Hasbro too, and he was there for 17 years, and he was laid off.
It's part of the
Yeah.
game, I guess.
Yeah.
Nothing you can do about that.
Yeah, nothing much. It's all about profit. It's all about making profits for your investors. So they get rid of some people to get that profit.
So you are at AR right now, but you do attend a fair amount of conventions and make appearances, and there's places people can reach out to you to get commissions or to talk to. What are those places, and what are some of those
I've only
events?
This is only my third convention I've been to this year.
Okay.
It's not like people are reaching out to me left and right. They're not.
No?
I go to Joe Fest. I go to ICCC convention in Nashville, Tennessee. It's mainly a Star Wars convention. I'm the only Joe guy there, but everybody loves us, so we get invited back. And then I go to Joe Fest in June, and I see everybody we know there. We have a good time. And then here, Iowa,
Which we're very happy that you
you
were
know,
able to come. This is a community show, not necessarily a convention in the strictest terms of a convention. It's more of a community event.
right?
That's how I look at it. And you are part of the family, part of the community. So I'm very proud to have you at this show. And I know Brian is as well, and everybody that's here is, because we do feel that you are part of our family,
Yeah,
because you helped all of us kids growing up where we needed help, uh, and GI Joe gave us a lot
yeah,
that maybe we weren't getting with our families or whatever, or school or whatever. GI Joe gave us that. Without you and the people you worked with, Kurt, Larry, and the other team members, we wouldn't have that. We wouldn't.
yeah,
We probably wouldn't. A lot of us probably wouldn't be around today. So you did save a lot of us. Thanks.
yeah. I know I get a lot from veterans too. I get the same exact thing that they say. You know? Especially a lot of guys who have PTSD, you know, and have seen a lot of horrible stuff. And have said GI Joe has saved them. You know, cool.
And no matter what Hasbro say, the numbers and all that stuff, it doesn't account for things like this.
Mm.
They don't look at that type of stuff, but
No,
it's definitely there. And I wouldn't be where I am doing what I'm doing if it wasn't for GI Joe. It was the thing in my childhood that kept me going. Me and my twin brother, we loved Tomax and Samon for
yeah,
our two guys because we're twins, and we did that whole thing with uh, Tomax gets hit by one hand together, the other one feels it and stuff like
yeah.
that. We did the whole stick when we were young. We loved it. He and I. So I want to thank you very much for taking out time out of your schedule at the AR this year and speaking to me. I feel very proud to have had this opportunity to speak with you. Of course, I've met you a couple of times, but I'd like to talk to the creators and stuff like that. So thank you very much.
Oh, you're very welcome. I mean, I enjoyed it, you know,
Hopefully, I
because
did too.
I don't get asked a lot of questions from people, but and I'm approachable, but I'm quiet.
You are quiet. The very
So
first time I met you in 2010, I went up to your table. Actually, it was Carson's table. You got a poster, and I think you signed the poster. And I said, "Can you sign this poster?" You went like this. And you wrote the poster for me. That was it.
yeah,
That was all you did. You were. I think that might have been your first show or something like that. Maybe I don't
yeah.
know.
What's
2010.
hard is I meet people all the time, and they tell me their names and everything like that, and uh, it's hard for me to remember each and every one
There's a lot of
that
us.
comes out to me because there are so many, you know. But yeah, I do appreciate all the guys. I get along with everybody. So usually we have a smoking section out here, and all the guys are out there and
Chit chat.
chatting, throwing the bull, and I want to feel like I'm one of the guys rather than someone elite. You know what I mean? That I'm above them. I'm not. I'm just one of the guys.
We just happen to have changed all of our lives.
Hey, it comes with a territory. So
Well, thank you very much again.
Yeah.
We will talk to you later. Thank you.